Do we want to go ahead and call the meeting to order, Chairman?
Are we ready to rock and roll?
We are ready to rock and roll.
All right, 13 minutes late, not too bad for Indian time. Yeah, if we could, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order and go ahead and proceed to invocation. If we could, Michelle, could you lead us in prayer, please?
Lord, those that aren't here for whatever reason, we just pray, Lord, those that are struggling with sickness. We ask, Lord, that you protect our people, protect our loved ones, and Lord, be with those that are sick, and we ask that you please heal them. Just help us, Lord, as we conduct this meeting today, Lord, that we definitely put you first, Lord, in our decisions and our people first. And we just thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to be here together. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Secretary Treasurer, roll call.
Lloyd. Here. Michelle. Here. Zach. Here. Guy present. Callie.
Here.
Joseph Bird.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Dropping down, reading, correction, and approval of minutes and phone polls. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so moved. Approval, disapproval of treasurer's report.
Make a motion.
Have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, treasurer's report is approved. Dropping down, approval, disapproval of reports submitted.
I'll make the motion to approve them.
I have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the reports submitted are approved. Next up, we have program directors reports. Ms. Susie Jackson with Human Resources.
Susie's not here. She asked to be put on next month due to having some information that she needed to present to the business community. Did you hear me?
Okay. And Barbara Collier with QNGA. They are both out due to unforeseen circumstances, and they will submit a report in the future. And so Karen Hildreth with the museum, I caught her yesterday, and she had some also family circumstances that she was tending to this weekend, but she did give me her report to read aloud. So if you'll give me a moment here. Monthly report for the museum. They're pretty much day-to-day activities of greeting guests, taking temperatures of all visitors who enter the facility. Numbers have increased slightly, but still hoping to get back to a normal time where we can offer cultural classes and language classes to our tribal members, as well as to the public. We are not able to do the annual Christmas open house this year due to COVID, but we'll be having a sale at the gift shop where we will offer 25% off all merchandise on December 7th through the 9th. The only things excluded from the sale are our Quapaw Nation clan blankets, as well as the ATEC cookbooks. And as a member of ATEC, Karen will be involved with the ATEC fundraiser on December 4th and 5th at the Quapaw City Hall. We will be raising money for the Native Youth Scholarships. She did receive several boxes of history and language research recently from Susan Loring. Her mother was Anna Bryant Edmondson, and this project will take some time to go through, but we'll start on that in the near future. And that is the report I received from Karen. Do any of the business committee members have any questions regarding this report? So it sounds like the highlights were 25% off on December 7th through the 9th at our museum gift shop. And there is a ATEC fundraiser, which is the All Tribes Education Consortium, on December 4th and 5th. I think they're going to have like Frito chili pie, chili dogs, and chili supper, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a good cause. It goes back to raising money for youth scholarships of not just Quapaw children, but all of the area intertribal children. So dropping down to Everett Bandy with our Tribal Historic Preservation Office. He is unable to make it today. He's actually taking care of tribal business, and I will go ahead and read his report as well. So the first item of business that he has, there is a Three Rivers project, and it's located near the confluence of the Arkansas, White, and Mississippi rivers. The project is a United States Army Corps of Engineers project and aims to return portions of the river which were rerouted in years past to a more natural alignment. This is because when the Army Corps rerouted segments of the river years ago, it has since caused issue with both erosion and sediment buildup in different respective portions of the river. The project aims to remedy these issues. The general area is known to have many archaeological sites, so the Army Corps developed this PA to establish how they would conduct cultural resources surveys prior to beginning ground disturbance. So the second item that he reports is the Three Rivers PA was previously provided to the business committee, and after approval was executed by former Chairman Barry in January of 2018, the final version of the PA was received back on February 8th of 2018. And due to the need for Army Corps to create a finalized work plan and bid out the work on the project did not begin until July of 2019. The Army Corps created an area of potential effect, which identified all areas where ground disturbance would occur for the project so that these areas could be surveyed. Survey work has begun and is ongoing. The reason this document is being submitted to be approved and signed again is due to a necessary amendment to the PA. The necessary amendment was the addition of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as portions of the project area because the PA needed amended. We also had them update our name to Quapaw Nation instead of Quapaw Tribe, and updated the name of our tribal leader, yours truly. Additionally, because it was determined that the Arkansas Waterways Commission was not needed for the project due to 100% federal funding, the document was also amended to acknowledge that the AWC would withdraw from the agreement. And Everett has reviewed this, and it's his decision that he believes this is a good document. It's well written and addresses our concerns for the project in a good and respectable fashion. So that's the report from our Tribal Historic Preservation Officer. Does any of the business committee have any questions regarding his report?
No.
Okay, dropping down to Debbie Ray. Same thing. I believe she had some family occurrences happening this weekend, unforeseen, and she submitted her report. Patty Billings with the library. Do we have her there today? Patty's there? Great. Finally, somebody. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Patty Billings, Library Director. Okay. Good morning. My name is Patty Billings. Which button do you hit?
The power button on the mic.
Okay.
Morning. There we go.
All right. My name is Patty Billings. I'm the library director for the Quapaw Nation Library. Things at the library are going pretty good, as well as it can be expected during this trying time right now. Traffic into the library has been light, but we are seeing more and more people coming back to the library. The online database that we are in a consortium with the 43 other libraries within the state of Oklahoma is doing very well. We before the pandemic, we were averaging around 100 books, ebooks, audiobooks checked out a month. Now that's increased to about 300. So people are still reading, just doing it in a different format. So that's a good thing. In fact, when we reached a milestone, as of July, this is combined, all 43 libraries checked out a total of 1 million of those through the database. So that's, I thought was really good. We are still doing the STEM fair, STEM kits for the kids. I've taken over each week to the Learning Center. And until the numbers kind of come down, we will continue to do that. I would love to meet with the kids in person, do the classes with them, but right now we just do not feel like it's safe. And so I do make a art project, a science project, craft project, kind of mix it up and take over each Monday for the kids for them to do. So at least they know the library is still picking up. The little free library that we have out front in front of the Title VI building is doing very well. We're having more actually put books into the little library. For a while there, they were taking them out as fast as we put them in. But now then they're actually bringing some of their own. So they're sharing their books with the community. So that's been a real help to the community. We are in the process. I've got a grant in the works that will provide an additional little free library to be placed over in the elder housing area, so that even though it's just a short walk from there over to the library, it would be even better if they had one that is a shorter walk for them, especially during this time right now. We are also in the process of planning a STEM science fair virtual. And I would like Krista and also Blakeney to come, because this is a joint effort. We are working on this together. And I have some forms here that kind of that shows the timeline that we're doing on the STEM. And each year I help Krista with the STEM fair over at the Wellness Center. But because of the situation and the times that we're in right now, we really feel like that's not feasible, but we still want to continue to do it. So we want to do it virtually. So Christy, do you want to?
I'll just go over it a little bit about the structure and the design. First of all, the planning team is Blakeney and Patty and myself. Basically, it's going to be a STEAM fair, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And it is going to be competitive and tribal for Northeast Oklahoma. So basically, all tribal members who are members of Cherokee Nation, Eastern Shawnee, Miami, Modoc, Ottawa, Peoria, Quapaw, Seneca, Cayuga, Shawnee, or Wyandot tribes or nations are invited to participate. We have it divided up into age groups, well, actually into grade groups. And that will be, our groups are kindergarten, 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, and then 9th through 12th. So basically they will, once we get approval from the BC on this. We will be taking it to the ITC, the Intertribal Council, and looking for buy-in from the other tribes in the area. And then we'll be sending out entry forms. And one of the things we're going to do is looking for some donations from all the tribes. We'd like to provide something sort of like have a little, some students don't always have, provide them like a mini grant to help with their project if they may not be able to have all the funds to do it. And so basically, they would just have to let us know in the entry packet. There would just be something if you need some help with, your supplies or your presentation supplies, just email us and we'll help you. And so for K through 6, it would be a $20 mini grant. 7 through 8, it would be 25, and 9 through 12, it would be 30. Of course, the number available would be dependent on what we get in donations. And Lakeview has already been working on hitting up some area businesses, or will be. We have a donation letter ready, request letter for sort of STEM related corporations like 3M and different places around here. We will have prizes. Those are listed there below. There'll be gift baskets for first, second, and third place with some science cards. And we're going to talk to Pittsco in Pittsburgh to donate some great science related items to those baskets. And then there'll be a medallion presented for all 3 places. Then, and that's for basically through elementary, all the way through elementary. And then for 7th and 8th grade, they'll have gift cards as well, but we'll get a plaque instead of a medallion. And then we'd like to see for first place, have us like $300 go toward a STEM or science fair camp or retreat, 200 for second, and then 100 for third place in 7th and 8th grade. And then 9th through 12th, we would like to see a $1,000 scholarship for the first place winner, $750 for the second place, and $500 for the third place. And it would be paid directly to their college or university. So we would set it up so that, even if they were freshmen, we would keep in contact with them and we would have that information. And when they decided on their school, they would get back in touch with us. And then we would, once they were enrolled there, we would send a check directly to that school towards their tuition and books or whatever have you. So that's sort of, what we have planned. We want, students to enjoy this, but we also want them to be something more than just, especially once you get to middle school and high school, for those kids who are really into this and considering this as something they want to pursue, they'd like to see something that adds some value. So we will be going out and looking for, like I said, getting some donations and things. And we do have, like I said, our timeline pretty much in place when how we're planning everything. If we get approval, then in December, like I said, we're going to ITC. We already have pretty much our entry form put together. So we'll be sending out those or getting those online, sending them to the other tribes so they can put it online and push it out to their youth as well to participate. And then February, we'll have our deadline for our entry forms. We're also going to send each participant a jump drive so that they can record their presentation, because this is going to be a virtual event. And we'll also be putting groups of judges together, and we'll have some community members, but we're also going to be looking to each tribe for their leadership and some of their employees to serve as judges. I think it actually will work out because with it being a virtual format, it might be easier than having to meet up and trying to judge the category. So in that way, it's also fair. That way you have different tribes represented on each judging group, and you're going to have a fair judging system. Basically, that's sort of where we're at with that. We will have surveys for, the students, parents / teachers. If maybe some of the teachers decide to let their students use this as a science fair project or a credit or something within school, which we're hoping will happen. And we'll have feedback sheets for them. And hopefully this first year will be a huge learning curve for us, and then, hopefully next year it'll go a little better, more smoothly, and we'll learn. So basically what we have. The one thing, if we do get approval on this, we would like to have a GL set up for this because there will be Patty's funding coming into it, but we're anticipating the donations for the mini grants and for the prizes. So it would be better if we could have a GL so that as the funding comes in and out of that, we can use that specifically for this thing.
Any questions?
I just want to make a comment and commend you, everybody involved, Krista, Patty, Blakeney, even Kim, our grants writer, in putting your heads together and coming up with what I consider to be a pretty cool thing. We know whenever all of the intertribal people of the area come together, we have good powwow dancers, we have good stomp dance leaders and shell shakers, and coming up in the youth and in the community. And I'm interested to see what type of scientists, what type of engineers, what type of thinkers we have in that area, within all of the intertribal nations represented in our area. So I'm excited about this, and I think it's a really great thing, and I commend your efforts. And when the time comes to present this in front of Intertribal Council, I look forward to when that day comes, because again, I think it's a really great thing. So thank you.
We need additional approval for this, or what do we need to do to get the GL, or?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you finished, Patty? Was Penny?
Yeah.
She was finished? Okay. Dropping down, we have Eric Boone with accounting.
Good morning. I'm Eric Boone, CFO for the tribe. October began a new fiscal year for us. We approved the budget last meeting. So in October, we had revenue of 1.5 million, expenses of 1.8 million. Nothing to worry about. It happens every year like that. Our revenue goes in cycles as well as our expenses. The tribal member health benefit, in October, we had $550,000 worth of expenses. Social services, we had $154,000. And our education was just $7,000, but spring semester, I think it started up this month. So that will increase significantly in the next couple of months. COVID checks. We finished up our second round of those COVID applications. Just to summarize both rounds. Round one, we had 4,736 checks go out, amounting to 4.1 million. Round two was 4,897 checks, totaling 6.25 million. So together, over $10 million distributed to tribal members. So hopefully everyone in here got their applications in, received their checks to help out with those expenses that everybody has. So that's all I have this morning. Are there any questions? Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next, we have on the agenda old business. And the first item under the old business is the subcommittee handbook. And I know we've tabled this the last couple of business committee meetings. I'd like to be able to approve this today, and I'd be happy to vote on this. There are a couple of items that I saw. I apologize. I thought that I had sent in my critiques and edits and suggestions of this, and it may have been lost in the shuffle somewhere. But there are a couple things that I would like to see changed or presented differently in the handbook. If you'll notice, it's throughout the document, there's a lot of bullet points. And if we're using this as a reference guide, I think it needs to have numerical sequencing. And it's easier to read and it's easier to reference if we're quoting something, if we're referring to something, if there's some type of either alphabetical reference or numerical reference. And I think that every time the word policy is used in the document, I think we should change the word policy to guidance. And we need to capitalize executive secretary as well as secretary treasurer throughout the document. I noticed there were a couple of instances where they were not capitalized. So those are the recommendations that I have. Again, I would be happy to approve this document, this handbook. I think it's a good start. It's a good baseline to help as guidance for each of our subcommittees. Once we have this in place, what that does is it provides a baseline reference for each of the subcommittee members, because whenever they come on to the committees, whenever an individual gets tapped and gets approved to serve on these committees, we've noticed that historically there hasn't been a whole lot of clear expectations or clear guidance. And I think this kind of solidifies that and brings us into the 21st century on what we expect of those individuals who serve on these committees and some of the processes that they must adhere to. But ultimately, they're responsible for, each committee is responsible for coming up with their own policies and procedures on how they carry out the functions of each of their respective committees. So again, those recommendations that I highlighted, if we could implement those into the document, I'd be happy to approve those. But that's kind of my 2 cents on it, and I'll leave it up to discussion for the rest of the BC.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to recommend an additional statement into that subcommittee handbook, which should read that employees sitting on subcommittees shall not receive a stipend when the committee meets during regular business hours. What's happening? Employees are drawing their salary as well as getting a stipend when the meeting occurs during business hours. I think that's totally wrong.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think, if you're serving on that committee and you're an employee and you set a meeting to happen while you're being paid as an employee, you're essentially double dipping. for any of those committees that are paid and compensated. I don't disagree with that. I think there might be the only issue that I would foresee is the every Thursday meeting with, is it which one is it? EFA? Is that the one that meets every Thursday at 1 p.m.?
Yes.
So then they're the ones, that's a pretty vital committee, because it deals with all of our people that need emergency funding. So I guess we would need to put that back on them as to when they set their regularly scheduled meetings to not take place on Thursday at 1 o'clock. So I guess if you wanted to include in there that all the meetings should take place either after business hours or on the weekend, I don't know what that language looks like. And
Okay, Chairman, I will make the motion to accept the subcommittee handbook with the recommendations that you have given, and with the recommendation of adding language that meetings shall occur after business hours and how presented.
okay.
So that is my motion, yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I would open it up for discussion because I think the Secretary Treasurer may want to weigh in on this. Michael, can we go ahead and unmute him?
Okay, thank you. I do have a comment on this. After having mulled this over for a couple of months, at least, as to whether or not I truly believe or agree with the need for this to actually be passed by the business committee. I believe that this handbook is a collection of policies and not a codification of any tribal law. It doesn't have the force and effect of law. It is not an ordinance. I personally feel that this actually falls underneath the plenary power of the chairman. And I don't know that it actually requires the rest of this committee's approval. I'm happy to vote on it, but I would just like that to be included in the record.
So taken. Okay. So motion, second, discussion. Does anybody else want to weigh in on this of the BC?
I would just say for the time being that this is how it's just been operated in the past until we can get it. Well, I'm not really sure what the words I'm looking for, but once we can get a better system, I say that we should just go ahead and proceed with the vote for now, because the BC currently votes on things under the administration as far as their policies go currently. So until we separate the powers, I would just proceed. Thank you.
I'm calling the question.
We have a call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? All right. The committee handbook is approved. Dropping down to the Constitution Committee appointments. Last business committee meeting, we appointed several individuals to the Constitution Committee. One of those individuals, Ms. Jean Ann Lambert, has respectfully declined her appointment, which leaves us with one vacancy. And in that, I recommend as a replacement for her, Mr. Jess Manzi McKibben. Would Manzi happen to be in the audience this morning? I know they had a grievance committee meeting earlier, like at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, he's exhausted. He went ahead and went home.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I wanted to recommend Jess McKibben, or excuse me, Manzi McKibben, for this appointment. I think his experience for working within our tribe, his background, his educational experience, I think he would be a very vital and very reasonable person to bring on to this important appointment. And so I would like to entertain a motion to appoint him to this Constitution Committee.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, I apologize. Go ahead, Secretary Treasurer.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion from the Secretary Treasurer for appointment. Do I have a second?
I will second that, Mr. Callen.
I have a second. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Okay. Mr. Manzi McKibben is the new appointment for the Constitution Committee. Dropping down into new business. And give me just a second here. I'm working from a new agenda. Okay. We have resolution 112120A, and this is a resolution creating a new position of a part-time assistant tribal prosecutor and appointing Cynthia Burleson to that position. And Ms. Cynthia Burleson has been admitted and practiced in our Quapaw Nation Tribal Court. She's had several cases. She also works with the CFR courts, as well as does some prosecution for the Miami tribe. And so this is a recommendation from the tribal court to go ahead and appoint her. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion for the new position as well as her appointment.
Chairman, I move to adopt resolution 1121.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Okay, the resolution is adopted. Dropping down, resolution 112120B, a resolution committing to fund matching costs of construction of Indian Housing Block Grant funded homes. And I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
I'll make the motion.
I will
Have a
second.
have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Mr. Turley, if you could take that next one, please.
Resolution 112120C, resolution to approve the Indian Housing Plan for fiscal year 2021 regarding Indian Housing Block Grant number 55I-4024740.
All right. And I'll entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
I'll move to adopt resolution 112120C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Question?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the resolution is adopted. Michelle, could you take that next one, please?
Resolution 2011-2120D, a resolution to approve the fiscal year 2020 annual performance report regarding Indian Housing Block Grant number 55 IT 4024740.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Resolution 2120D.
We have a motion, and I believe I heard a second. Do we have discussion?
Yes. On the block grant number, is the number supposed to be the same for C and D?
One's 2021 and one's 2020.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I will second the motion.
Okay, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The resolution is adopted. Mr. Buffalo, could you take that next one, please?
Resolution number 112120E, a resolution to approve the abbreviated annual performance report for FY 2020 CARES Act funding regarding Indian Housing Block Grant 20BV4024740.
All right. Have I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
Make a motion.
We have a
Second.
motion
Second.
as well as a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Resolution is adopted. Callie, you want to take the next one, please?
Trying to keep straight here. Sorry, I got all papers. Resolution number 112120F, authorizing the use of the trust restricted land located under the jurisdiction of the Quapaw Nation for the farming and grazing, and to authorize the execution of the lease on behalf of the Quapaw Nation.
I'll entertain them. All right. Okay. We have a motion to adopt. We have a second.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the resolution is adopted. Resolution 112120G. This is a resolution to approve a tribal government restructuring project and contract with Kaufman and Associates. And I will entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
I move to adopt.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion?
Question?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The resolution is adopted. Next on the agenda is the Three Rivers programmatic agreement. And this was the information that was supplied to us from Mr. Bandy, our Tribal Historic Preservation Officer. And this is, again, he touched on the agreement, and some of it had to do with just changing over our name from Quapaw Nation or Quapaw Tribe to Quapaw Nation, and then the exclusion of one of the agencies that was involved. And he's read it, he's analyzed it, reviewed it, and he says that it's a good document. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement.
I will make a motion to approve the agreement.
Have a motion. Do we have a second? I think I heard a second.
Second by Michelle.
Second by Michelle. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the agreement is adopted. Next up is the fire EMS ambulance bid approval. And this is Pinnacle Emergency Vehicles in the amount of $699,000, $660,000. Zach, Mr. Turley, do you have more information you could provide on this?
I do. This is a grant that we were awarded through the ICDG program. It was a special grant to do with COVID. It allowed us to buy, this is for 3 brand new ambulances, and it will be 100% paid for with the grant that we were awarded. So that there will be like a special COVID ambulances through the duration of the COVID pandemic. And once that's over, used for any purpose we have.
Okay. Thank you for the information. I will entertain a motion to approve the bid approval. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Abstain. I'm going to
Yeah.
abstain. I wrote the proposal, so I'll work on it.
Okay. For the record, we have an abstention by Mr. Zach Turley. And yeah, the bid approval is approved. So dropping down into donations and sponsorships, we have on the first item, Janet Glenn, a dog training program, and the request is for $1,300. Is Miss Janet Glenn in the audience today?
She sure is. She's making her way up
Okay, great.
with Miss Lucy Liu. Yes, it's on. All right. Thank you first for your time and to listen to me and Lucy about what we do at Will Rogers Middle School in Miami. She obviously needs the additional training that I came to ask for the funding for. She's been coming to Will Rogers with me since she was 8 weeks old. And it's really amazing what she can do in the school. You know, Miami, as the rest of our county is, we're all low income. We have a lot of families that struggle. We have a lot of kids that live with grandparents. And our kids just have a tough time sometimes. And so do our teachers. But Lucy has brought, she just seems to know whenever people need a closeness. And she will, particularly our autistic kids, it's amazing. She will go up to them and kind of lean into them. And it really helps them to calm down. I'm a school counselor, but I also am a licensed clinical social worker. So I understand therapy and the best way to sometimes connect kids. And with Lucy with me, I have an instant rapport with kids. I don't need to spend hours building a real relationship. I have her, she's right here, and she shows up, and instantly these kids are talking to me, first of all, about their dog. And then they tell me about, who they live with. And sometimes they go on into how it's difficult. One of the examples I like to tell is we have this little boy, he's now a 7th grader, but he's been around Lucy for 2 years now. And he's a wonderful little boy. If I could take one home, he'd probably be it. But his behavior is so bad that he's been in the legal system.
it's crossed over into that. But he loves Lucy. And so he's been working with her, teaching her additional tricks, or he'll play ball with her and come and throw the ball down the hall and she'll bring it back to him. And when he teaches her the tricks, he's so proud when she gets it. And then that gives me an opportunity to talk about how she feels good when she does the right thing. She gets a treat, which, can be equivalent to a good grade, and she knows she feels good. And so when you make good decisions too, you'll find that you feel good when you do that. So I can train her basic things like walking on a leash. I can teach her to sit and to, lay and all those cute things like that. But I need the next step, so I can be sure 100% that she's in that building and we have a crisis, that she will know what to do, that she'll be right there. As a teacher, I'm fortunate to have summers off and I have some breaks. And in those times, once she's trained and she's certified and COVID's over, visiting nursing homes and daycares are exactly what I love to do. And she loves people. Right now, she's much more comfortable around middle schoolers than she is adults even. So I think this training will help her with that too. I need an additional $1,300 to pay for the training. It's with Canine Command in Joplin. They've been training dogs since 1988. They specifically train therapy dogs to be in schools, funeral homes, nursing homes, all those places you would expect her to be. And he has said that he would be available to train her. She would go for a month of in-house training. I told the kids she's going to boarding school. So she would be there for a month, and then she would come back to my school, and he would work with us for an additional 2 months in our school building, so that I would know how to work with her, and she would know how to work with me. So I appreciate your attention to it and letting me have the opportunity to come before you. But thank you. Does anybody have any questions? I guess I could ask that. Any questions?
I have a question. You mentioned that you're looking for an additional $1,300. How much money has already been spent on training, or are we just paying like a chunk of the total?
Training itself is $1,800. So I have 500. So I need an additional money.
And have you approached any of the other 8 tribes in the area?
Yes. Yes, I have. I've received from the Wyandotte tribe. And, I will continue, if I need to do that, to ask other tribes for help.
Chair, we have a question in the back. Do you mind if I have her ask it?
Yeah, that's fine.
So the Wyandotte gave you 500 that I'm assuming?
Yes.
And so they're coming to us for 1,300.
I'm coming to you for what you can contribute. I need 1,300, but I also understand that not everybody could give that amount. So that's what I need to finish the paper.
So how long have you been working on getting the funds?
Since the beginning of school. And I've contacted other tribes, haven't always had a good response. So I'm continuing to work on that.
Is there not a grant that we can write for this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Or taco sales, or lake sales, or any other avenues maybe?
That's possible. It makes some of that a little difficult with COVID, but that's possible. I'm open to whatever I need to do to raise the money. So I'm just hoping that folks can help some.
Do you work with any Native students? Or
Yes.
Are there Quapaw students?
Yes.
How many?
I wish I had had that on top of my head. We have a lot of tribal kids, but I want to say Quapaw might be about 30 kids in the district or in our school. Now, next year, Will Rogers, well, at the end of this year, this is our last year as Will Rogers Middle School. So we will move as a junior high to the high school. So next year, we will be grade 7 to 12.
Out of the 30, how many of them students do you see? Everyone wants students.
Oh, I see all the kids at school because, you know, at break between classes, you know, all the kids, as they go by, they talk to Lucy, they, you know, want to come by and pet her. And so she wanted to get by and see everybody. So any of the kids are available to me. I work with all our kids there, and they see Lucy, and they all know Lucy. You know,
As far as one-on-one.
One-on-one. I don't do a lot of therapy one-on-one. As a school counselor, that's sent to we have outside counselors that come in. What I work mostly with is like crisis, when they come in upset, or their drama, you know, they're having problems with friends or something, and as well as the everyday kinds of things. So I'm in the hallway. They all know that if they need to see Lucy, that they, you know, can ask their teacher to come down. So it's really, as our school kids that need to have something going on, or an autistic kid that may be having a little bit of a meltdown, and then she's there in school all day.
Janet? Is the school okay as far as like liability goes?
Yes.
I mean, you got all that taken care of as well?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, I do know Janet. My kids went to school there for a short time, and I have seen her in action, and I have seen the dog in action as well. She's been pushing for this for a really, really long time, and she has been trying. Being that she is approaching other tribes and other tribal kids are out there, I would like to make a motion to donate $500 to the training.
Second.
Thank you very much.
We have a motion to donate $500 to Lucy Lou's training. And we have a second. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I want to go ahead and mark me down as an abstention. Okay. So approved. Next on the agenda, we have Arissa Tyner Davis with Quapaw High School. Is Arissa in the audience?
Yes, she is. Hello.
Hi.
Arissa Tyner Davis. I'm an enrolled member of the Quapaw Nation. I'm representing the senior class of Quapaw High School in the Miss Merry Christmas program. Monies raised return to a school fund to benefit students, faculty, and local members in the community to assist with needs, and examples is food banks, and I thank you for your consideration.
So I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but what I'm hearing is you're running for something, a Miss Merry Christmas. Is that correct?
What did you say the money was raised for?
Food banks and just looking back into the school for different programs or things that school.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
The money goes back into food banks. And I'm sorry, what did you say?
Just goes back into the school for, there's the food banks and
It goes back to student and faculty needs and local members of the community mostly. And an example of one of the things that the funds are used for is food banks or clothing or those sort of needs for members in our public school system.
Trying to pull it up myself, I apologize.
I am all for assisting in that area with the food banks and with the school. I know we have several programs in place that we have with Quapaw. I guess my question is, what is your involvement with that? Like, why isn't the school presenting?
This is more of a fundraiser, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that children are nominated from each grade, and each grade has the opportunity to raise money. And if they raise the most money, then they win the Miss Merry Christmas title. And then the money that is raised from all of the grades goes into that joint account that will benefit those types of functions.
I
So
see.
You're asking for a donation for this fundraiser, I guess you could put it.
And
She's representing the senior class of the Quapaw High School.
okay.
I'll make a motion to donate 500. A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. $500 is voted on and approved and going to the Quapaw Nation or Quapaw senior class. So thank you, Arissa. Dropping down into open forum. I think that I would have liked to have mentioned this sooner, maybe in new business or possibly old business, or but we had a new agenda presented to us this morning, and my notes kind of got shuffled around. But at this time, is Donna in the room? Yes. Donna, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but I think we have a really important announcement that we need to make regarding COVID and how we're going to move forward into this new month. So if you could, I'd like for you to touch on our plan of operations, if you will.
Yes, I would be happy to do that. We've been meeting with our emergency management and some of the BC and other departments on working out a plan of action for lockdown, possible furloughs, things that for the future because of the way the COVID epidemic is happening right here in Ottawa County. We're monitoring the figures on percentage of active cases per population, amount of beds in our area, including Joplin, Kansas, Oklahoma, that are available, broken down into ICU beds and then just regular COVID beds for health management. And it's really scary right now. We're running an average on beds available in our area of over 50 to almost 60% daily that are full. And some places have one bed available, some of the hospitals. We're getting, and some of them that we have communicated with have said, other areas are shipping people to us because there's no beds in their area. And so in doing this, we talked about it because we wanted to really be proactive this time, have the plans in place with trigger points and not like we were in March and everything dumped on us and we were like scrambling, trying to figure things out. So with this, with what we've discussed is, our plan is starting November 30th. If approved, we will go back to our buildings being locked down. No outside traffic will be allowed in again like they were previously. We will still have everything available like before, by email, by fax, phones, anything we can do. The drop boxes will still be available in the foyers like they have been the whole entire time. I know we've even with people being able to come into the buildings now with masks and being temperature checked, a lot of tribal members have elected just to continue to use the drop boxes unless they actually have to talk to someone. Our plan, as before, will be put on the website on different departments, contact for those departments if you have to. I know like at the Kyoto Center, their foyer, their lockbox or their drop boxes will be there, all of their materials. There will still be staff there that can answer things. If you had to meet with someone, they could go outside. If it's an emergency situation, we can make arrangements. But the majority of them will just be in and out. And we will, like I said, we're planning on that taking effect November 30th. And then after that, we will keep evaluating weekly on the status of the pandemic in our county and then decide on the next step would be to send the ones to work from home that can work from home. Others would be our plan, and we would look at, okay, how the ones that can't work from home, if we can move them to some different department or just furloughing people like we did in the beginning. But there's going to be, like I said, trigger points for that we will evaluate weekly. And because we want to keep the tribal members safe, we want to keep all of our employees safe. And we've had several yesterday, I believe, that just tested positive employees. And so we've been doing our contact tracing. So we're just trying to be proactive with that. I know, before when we did this, when we locked down and no one was in the buildings and we did everything, it went very smoothly. Tribal members were amazing at how well they cooperated and because, I think they realized we were trying to protect them as much as our employees. And like I said, it's a work in progress. None of us have ever really been through this before totally. So, we evaluate, we look at things every day. We take care of emergency situations. I know we can't plan for everything, but right now that in our discussions, that's the direction that we're looking at going for now. Hopefully after the first of the year, the vaccines are coming out and stuff, things are going to start to get better, hopefully by spring. But the future's the future. And so all we can deal with is what is today. We will put this plan that we've got here, like I said, that is by department on our website and stuff so that you all can look. It'll be under the calendar part like we did before with contacts. So right now, that's our first step that we're looking at implementing. Does anybody have any questions? Suggestions? Like I said, this is a work in progress, and we're just going with the information that we have and how we did things in the past during March and April, and how well that they worked for us, and being able to take care, process checks, keep everything moving, but then keeping tribal members and employees safe.
I just want to make a comment, Donna. Thank you to you and Randy Jackson for helping us put this plan together. I agree that in March we didn't have a whole lot of lead time, and everything was just kind of put together and did the best we can to keep the cart on the rails. And now, as we've had lessons learned, we've it's a learning curve anytime you have a situation like that. And now as we get into the winter months, we can be better prepared as a total operation to still maintain the ability to service our individual tribal citizens while maintaining our health and safety, not just for them, but also the health and safety of our employees. And I think it's a really great move. I want to commend you because after my meeting with the area chiefs at the Intertribal Council this past week, I think every single one of them have already been in this remote type of servicing for all of their tribal admin buildings and staff. And so, again, I think this is a good move, and it's temporary, and hopefully in the new year we can get that vaccination going, and things will start to lighten up in terms of the rates of contraction of COVID. And so, but in the meantime, I think it's all in our best interest of our staff and all of our community, our people in our community, that we help protect. And I think this is a good plan. It's a good start.
Yeah, I know Lloyd, was it yesterday when we were talking, or Thursday, that the Seneca offices have completely shut down until January 3rd. They're not having anyone in the offices. We called and checked and I wanted to find out exactly what they were doing. And they're only allowing employees to come in if it's an emergency situation that they have to take care of in the office. Other than that, they're not even allowing employees in their office, is what they told us. Everyone it's shut down. So, I do know, that there is other offices and things that are going and taking measures. But so this is our first step here.
And this is a lockdown step. This is not a furlough step. This is a lockdown step, just for clarification. Thank you, Donna. You're welcome.
Thank you, Donna. Okay. I think on the agenda we can drop down into the open forum.
Chairman, we've got a question from Gracie on the floor. Grace Good Eagle. Grace Good Eagle would like to say something.
Okay.
Along with what has been said by Donna, the Elders Committee met last week, and we had some news and update, and perhaps that can come from you about our Elders dinner next month. So, did you want to make that announcement?
We sure can. You are absolutely correct. This year for COVID, we have made the decision to cancel the elders' Christmas dinner and send monetary checks to them in lieu of a Christmas party. Does anybody else have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'd like to say something about that. In addition to us providing the monetary distribution to each individual elder, those will be mailed out. And it is my understanding, we've been in conversations with Eric in our accounting. There is no need to apply for this. We already know who the elders are. There's a list that's maintained, and there's no need to apply for this. It'll be sent out.
Just to add, we're looking towards next year.
Me too, Gracie, me too.
In addition to the elders' Christmas party, the children's Christmas party has been canceled as well. And that is being handled differently. That you do need to fill out a form to get it sent to you so we don't lose it in the mail. So that has been put on the social media websites, I believe, and the application is on our website through the tribe as well.
So just
Chairman, one more thing. Are we also going to be handing out stuff to the elders?
Yeah, this was all going to be part of my announcement in open forum.
I'll sit back and be quiet now. I apologize.
Quite all right. Yeah, so in lieu of the children's Christmas party due to COVID, we're providing monetary distribution for gifts to each Quapaw child under the age of 18. The process will be very similar to the COVID Relief Fund application process. So those applications will be readily available on our website as well as our admin building. The deadline for the applications, I think Eric had mentioned that it was December 4th. My opinion is that we need to open that up and extend it another week into December 11th, just so we have enough time. I know that that doesn't give us much time if we keep it at the December 4th date. There's bound to be a few people reaching out saying, hey, you know, whatever. But just to forego some of the issues with having such a tight deadline, I would recommend opening it and extending it out to December 11th. And we still have the Shop with a Cop program that we do for our youth for Christmas, and I'm under the impression that it's still going to be happening. I haven't been told otherwise, so that's going to be forthcoming. And then we also have a Quapaw Nation Angel Tree program that is also going to be happening, and the details are forthcoming on those programs. But they should be available pretty soon, like in the next week. And so touching on the children's Christmas party, we talked about that. The elders Christmas party, I do want to make the announcement that on December 18th, there will be an elder goodie bag distribution. I think that's on a Friday. And I can't remember the time that we agreed upon. Does anybody remember?
11 to 1.
11 to 1. Okay. 11 to 1 on December 18th. There'll be an elder goodie bag distribution for all tribal elders. And not those 45-year-old tribal elders, the elders.
It will be here in the community, the parking lot. We'll have it set up where you can just pull through the parking lot. We can hand you your bag and you can go on out so that you won't have to come in the buildings or anything. It'll be done right here in the parking lot.
And we'll have masks and gloves for all those individuals that are volunteering to pass those out.
Chairman, we have a question from the floor.
I just wanted to make a side note. We can't call it an angel tree because that's copyrighted. We have to call it a blessings tree.
Well, a blessings tree, copyrighted.
We found that out the hard way.
Angel tree cannot be used.
Blessings to all.
Blessings tree.
Okay. There were a couple of other announcements that I wanted to have. I wanted to thank. Oh, give me just a second. Just an update included in the packets that we passed today, just for public knowledge. Our community health rep administered 62 flu shots in the month of October. There was a silent auction for cancer awareness on October 30th in an effort to fundraise for tribal members battling cancer. For that, we had different departments in the tribe put together baskets and have silent auctions on those. And that was a really great event. So I want to say thank you to Jasmine, and as well as all of the other hands and people that donated and were involved with that. I met with Chief Channing of the Seneca Cayuga, and we discussed, this was like the second or third meeting in a series of meetings between Quapaw Nation and Seneca Cayugas, and they have a growing concern of being able to adjudicate their ICW cases due to the CFR court being either shut down or unable to facilitate their docket. And so our tribal court is basically going to assume some of their cases. And, in the spirit of intertribal relations and friendship, we're going to help out the Seneca Cayuga, and I'm extremely proud. And I want to acknowledge Carissa over at the tribal court and all the tribal court staff being able to take this on. So I think that's, government to government, tribal sovereignty at work, truly where the rubber meets the road. And it's all for the benefit to help out the youth in the community. So I think that's a really positive thing. There on December 3rd and December 4th, the Oklahoma Indian Legal Services will be hosting a wills and trust clinic that is free to the public. So if you don't have your will or your trust, in order, your house in order, I strongly encourage and recommend, you to participate. And, that's always good. It's a good service, and it's free to the public. So, the only other thing I had was, I've done this since I was sworn in, and ever since the first meeting that I conducted, wanted to acknowledge and recognize the individuals that are no longer with us from the previous month. Those individuals that have been involved in and around our tribal community, those that have danced with us in the arena, those that have stomped, around the fire with us, and been an integral part of our tribal community. And so with that, I'd like to read a list of names. And then afterwards, I'd like to give a moment of silence for these individuals. And on this month, I want to recognize and acknowledge William G. Weber, Nadine Anderson, Johnny Parnell, Howard Olds, and Pauline Sosi. And if there are any other individuals, I'll take them at this time.
John Tiger. Scott Bradshaw.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, if we could at this time, have a moment of silence for these individuals, and, continue to keep their families in prayer. So at this time, a moment of silence, please. Gonna gay. Thank you. Okay. As we are in open forum, does anybody have any announcements or anything that they'd like to bring? The floor is open.
Yeah, I just like to ask, if we need emergency care with the ambulance, does that cost Tribal members to transport a person?
With our ambulance service here at the tribe?
Yeah.
So just so if anybody couldn't hear him, he asked if our ambulance service comes out and transports a tribal member, if there is any cost to the tribal member. And no, there is not supposed to be. I've worked pretty hard with our billing company trying to get a list of names. So if they do come across and you receive a bill, if you'll contact myself or the fire department, we will write that off if you're a tribal member. There is no charge to use our ambulance service for our tribal. Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you to you all for voting to include all of this in the Christmas giving this year.
We've got one more.
A guy, I saw you said he couldn't hear. Anna said she wanted to thank the business committee for voting to include all the children this year on the kids' Christmas party or distribution.
Holly, good morning. I'm Linda Valier Sigmund, Pokey Valier's granddaughter. At General Council, we had established a compensation committee, or at least voted on, and the motion was moved to create a compensation committee for the business committee. And I'd like to, I've noticed in some of the stuff that I've been reading when I've seen in the agenda and stuff and the meeting minutes, I haven't seen anything referring to that. And I'd kind of like to know a little bit about what the status of that is. Who was appointed? If there is a status.
Chairman, did you hear that?
I caught half of it. I know that there's a question regarding compensation committee. Is she just?
Yes.
Go ahead, I apologize.
Yeah, I was requesting the status of the compensation committee.
So there haven't been any recommendations or nominations to date. I would be happy to entertain any recommendations or nominations from you. If you have something you'd like to recommend, I'm definitely all ears along with the business committee. And just it's very preliminary. We have asked members of HR to do some type of what is it called, industry standard or industry norm for positions like these, similarly situated throughout Indian country. And they are still forthcoming on what they're bringing to us. But aside from appointing and having a committee ready to do that, it has not happened yet.
Okay, just to clarify a little bit, one of the reasons why I requested it the way it was is that any individuals that were serving on the committee would be not on any other committees and not employees, be completely unbiased individuals. So, and with that said, I have education and experience that I would be able to assist with that, and I'm willing to step forward and assist with the committee. I don't know if you have any other individuals that are tribal members who would be able to assist me or anyone else on the committee that has the education and knowledge to be able to do that or not. But I know I would not want to even attempt to do that on my own. I actually would like to see the discussion out there and the discussion publicized, so all of the tribal members know what's going on with this, so that we continue to keep our the integrity of conflict of interest and transparency.
I like that idea, and I think those are great recommendations. And I honestly, between the last, has it been 3 weeks now? We've been going at an incredible rate, and compensation committee hasn't really been taken up as a matter of business. But because we're in a business committee meeting in the setting and there's somebody that's willing to serve on that committee, I think that's a pretty good indication that we could probably go ahead and take care of that today and at least get the ball rolling, because I agree with your statements in the effort to, keep transparent and to keep communication with all of our individual citizens. I think that is important. So if you're willing to serve on the committee, I would gladly recommend and nominate you to sit on that as an unbiased person. I'm unfamiliar with your employment currently.
I have a master's degree from University of Tulsa. I have a degree in accounting. I am currently employed with Hood and Associates, CPAs. So my experience is in taxation and bookkeeping and assisting businesses, assisting other businesses in managing their finances. I've been doing that for a couple of decades now. So, and also having a master's of business administration. I am also the commander of the Civil Air Patrol unit in Tulsa. So I manage people on a regular basis. Not sure what else. Yeah, but there are a lot of other things that I do too, including flying hot air balloons. So
No, I think we should go ahead and get the ball rolling on that. And I would go ahead and put forward your nomination as my recommendation to that committee. Does anybody else care to entertain this approval of appointment?
there's a question on the floor.
We can get that in discussion. We can. I'm trying to entertain a motion to approve her appointment.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Chairman?
Yes.
Respectfully, like we talked about, clearly delineated powers within certain positions within our BC. Again, I'd mentioned it before, but I'd like to circle around to it. The appointments, again, are one of your plenary powers. It is certainly something that, and I, as well as the other BC members, appreciate you taking our consideration on the positions. But again, I don't know that it actually has to pass via a motion. But I'm happy to vote on it.
I do believe it is a concurrence. I'll have to pull it back up, but the chairman puts the name out there and then the BC will concur with it. I'll read it, but I think that's how it's placed.
Yeah, my predecessor would pretty much just appoint whoever, whenever. Trying to get the buy-in on the rest of the business committee in an effort to show teamwork and camaraderie. But however we need to do it, I'd definitely like to have you sit on the compensation committee. And even if there's no formal approval that comes out of this meeting today, I would like to have you on there just so we can get the ball rolling and moving forward.
I will concur.
I think there was someone that would want to make a comment, and actually I would be appreciative to hear any comments as well, if that's okay.
I'm glad this is going through. And also I'd like to nominate Rodney Spriggs for that committee. He has 60 stores with 900 employees. It's vintage stock.
Thank you. Okay. There was another nomination for a Rodney Spriggs. He said oversees 600 stores and it's
900 employees.
900 employees.
And 60 stores.
60 stores. And it is vintage stock. So he manages that.
He's the owner.
He's the owner. I'm sorry. Owner.
I would definitely be willing to work with Rodney.
Yeah, I agree. I like that recommendation as well. Any other recommendations? That's a good recommendation.
I do have actually a couple of things. I kind of following up on the stuff that I discussed at the general council meeting. Callie, more for you. I didn't know if you had sent me that email regarding the petitions.
I'm so glad you're here because I had this conversation with Michelle and I was like, I lost her contact information. So right after this, I'll show you really quick. I apologize.
Absolutely. Yes, because that is something that I think is important that we try and get moving forward on that as well. And then the third thing that I had a question about was the status of the consolidated balance sheets.
I'll jump in. No movement as of right now. Admittedly, we've had a pretty busy 3 weeks since general counsel, and I have yet to sit down and have a discussion with our CFO, Mr. Eric Boone. But we'll go ahead and try and get that done and out to you. I'm going to go ahead and give myself a deadline, definitely by the end of next month.
Thank you. I appreciate that as well. I think any other questions that I have, I could probably ask one of you individually after the meeting. It's just more I'm trying to find things online and like the motions and stuff like that, and the explanations for the motions and everything I'm seeing online is after the fact, after they've been approved. And I actually would like to be able to see new business resolutions and motions, the descriptions of them posted online for the tribal members to be able to see prior to your voting on them. So we know more about the detail of what's in these resolutions and we'll be more aware of what's going on. That are one of those things for transparency purposes. But other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the business committee, this week alone, I've had several instances where tribal members have either reached out to me or, I've reached back out to them by way of them voicing their concerns. And what it stems from is I think we need clarification on the ordinance that speaks of tribal preference of employment. When it comes to tribal spouses, the first tier, second tier, where do they rank along with tribal members? And also, if I may make a suggestion, that we rework that ordinance in the future to include tribal spouses along with that first tier, because they are taking care of tribal members. Thank you.
So we have a question for a clarification on a HR policy for tribal member preference as well as spouses. Donna, since you're already at the podium, could you speak to that?
Yes, there was a tribal preference policy that was passed by the business committee, and I believe it was like 5 years ago, Jamie. You have it here. It's resolution 041908C. It's to provide for tribal employment preference for members of the Quapaw Nation. I'm trying to find where the tiers are. But it's tribal members first, and then Quapaw preference shall mean that when 2 or more equally qualified candidates, each of whom meet the qualifications for requirements for employment, are available for employment, that those enrolled tribal members will have preference for their employment. Dependent preference shall mean when 2 or more equally qualified candidates, each of whom meet the qualifications for employment, are available for filling an employment, that the current spouse of an enrolled member of the Quapaw Tribe of Oklahoma or a person responsible for the care of an enrolled member would have priority. So I'm not really sure, because then it goes to, we have a tier for veterans and then all others. So what was the specifics? I'm not really sure. It's a pretty in-depth policy that was passed back then on the tiers. Have you seen this?
I haven't seen it. The way it was explained to me, I spoke with our downstream HR, and then I also spoke with Jamie and Susie. And the way it was explained to me was that tribal members, along with internal employees, are at the top tier.
Right.
And the second tier is tribal spouses, and followed by other natives.
Veterans, yes, right.
Some veterans in there.
Right.
And then what was said to me was that we hardly ever get to that second tier with jobs at the tribe, because they, tribal members, a lot of tribal members work here.
Right. Yes, we have
employees want to move up.
the biggest majority of tribal members employed work for the tribe, the government side, yes.
My recommendation is that we move tribal spouses and caretakers to that first tier, because they are taking care of tribal members.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that they should be moved to that first tier also. And that's just a recommendation for the future.
Okay. And then this is done by resolution. To make any additions or changes to this policy would have to come as a new policy, I would assume, as a new resolution. So, if we want us to do that, to put together something to make some changes, we can do that.
I would recommend us reconvening with HR and whatever we need to do. If there is an issue that we need to take care of, yeah, I agree, we should take care of it, and at least getting some more background information. That way we can make a sound decision on what exactly we're addressing, and the language that would help get us there and resolve any of these issues that seem to continue to fall between the cracks or rise up.
Right. Yeah, because right now, like I said, our first tier is tribal members and current employees that we, according to policy, and we've been very blessed that we usually have very good tribal members that are employees that's internal, that we've been able to move up in jobs. So the policy has been very, very beneficial so far. So just making some changes and tweaks to it would be great. So I will get with HR. We can kind of go through some things and then get with the business committee. Is that what you're wanting?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thank you.
I had a question on the downstream clinic that we have. We had an issue with family members testing positive for COVID and had a tribal elder that needed a test yesterday. And the Indian clinic, of course, couldn't get it done fast enough. Downstream does have the rapid that they would not see her. And my sister doesn't work for the tribe, so she could go, but my mom could not. And we had to go and pay for a test for that. And then the Indian clinic did go ahead and give her a kit and did a telephone consult with her. But we also called the Wyandotte tribe. They have a clinic, and from what we heard from them, they will see any tribal of any tribe for that, and they have the rapid test. And Fridays, my mom's 89. We did not want to wait over the weekend for the test to get her started on medicine. So I would think I would like to address whether or not the policies for the downstream clinic can be changed to where they would see tribal members, especially on cases like that. Because we have another family member that tested positive. He has never been to the Indian clinic, and they would not see him right now with the COVID as a new patient because he didn't have a chart. They couldn't do a teleconference with him. And so he, unfortunately, against my will, has only had a Z-Pack. He's had no other treatment for his COVID, and is a week into it, not really improving. So the Indian clinic does give a very nice pack. There's a forehead scanner for the temperature. They have a pulse ox machine in there, which is I really appreciated that to help monitor my mom, because it's hard to tell with her wheezing if that is just age and all related and how much oxygen she gives. So we can actually monitor her oxygen saturation with that. There was a blood pressure machine and then a logbook that we could keep track. So I just would like to see if we can do anything about the downstream clinic and opening it up more to tribal members, especially on emergency type basis.
Yeah, that's been an issue of growing concern for me personally. What's the point in having a clinic if we can't service our tribal citizens? I don't understand that, but I do plan on following up on that. And I'm hoping to have some research done and have a better answer for you, because I don't have an answer for you today. I'd like to say, yeah, let's start servicing our tribal citizens and at the downstream clinic, especially if the Northeast clinic is unable to provide service. But I need to go and research that and look at that more to see where exactly we stand and what services we can provide. But I agree there is a need for that. So hopefully by this week, through the week, I'll be working on that.
We have someone that comes to the elder housing and stuff. And I called a person at downstream and said I need to be tested. And I went right over and they got me right in. No questions asked.
My sister called yesterday and they would not see my mother. Said no, it is for employees and their spouses only.
Yeah, we had this discussion yesterday and it is going to be addressed. For sure.
It's a concern that's on the entire business committee's list of priorities, and it's up there at the top, for sure.
Well, it's very disheartening when you've got an 89-year-old tribal elder that they absolutely said no, cannot see her.
Yeah, I agree.
And just for point, I was tested yesterday also and I'm negative or I wouldn't be here, so.
There's a few questions in the Zoom chat. Following that, let's see. When can we expect updates on Bear and on Goody? So I know that that's of extreme importance too, both the Bear and the Good Eagle. We continue to receive questions regarding both of those settlements. There's a lot of talk and a lot of chatter on Facebook and other social media as to what's happening, what's going on. And I asked our Secretary Treasurer if he could give an update on both of these, and I think he's prepared something. So if I could turn the floor over to him now.
Yeah. So as we, there was an update on the litigation, at least with general counsel. This update is going to kind of build on that as well. We can start with Good Eagle. At least auditing the existing distribution is still commencing. Or at least representation has been combing through all the documents, whether it be roll records, land records, chain of title, removal of material and chat from property. All of that is being compiled now. And I think that we are going to have preliminary numbers for review by the end of this month. And I think that we'll be able to hash out any irregularities, and what had happened in the past would be that you have situations where you would have, say, siblings would have a different amount that they would be getting paid, and at least representation does not know who's related, who siblings are, who are cousins, you know, and they're going to need some help from the tribe in order to establish those relations, and understand why some of these discrepancies exist. They'll have to go back through sales records as well. There are instances where they have siblings or cousins that, you know, one of them decided to sell a portion of chat while the other one didn't, and was then not paid whenever it was removed later. So little finer details of that can be ironed out starting in December. I think that it is very doable for us to be able to have final numbers and to be ready to cut checks for correct distributions by the end of the year. And that's the goal that we're shooting for. We are moving full steam ahead on that and working around the clock in order to make that happen. We will have more information on that later, and hopefully another update next month in terms of where we're at, if we haven't already started to make arrangements to do distributions by that point in time. Bear.
Hey, Guy.
Yes.
Real quick, can you touch on the attorney's fees?
Yes. As we had originally discussed in the August Business Committee meeting, in where the chairman and myself were sworn in, there was a discussion about the legal fees and how they would be paid. At the time, or at least it would reflect on the record, that I had made a comment that there would certainly be enough money held over in interest on that trust account in order to afford those legal fees. The business committee has made a decision, and we have decided that the business committee should be paying for those legal fees out of their personal budget. While nobody on this business committee made the intentional decision on how that money is allocated and distributed in Good Eagle prior, the prior business committee did. And while that distribution was incorrect and insufficient, it is our belief that the business committee should be footing the bill for their mistake. And so the fees will not be paid out of the funds being held in trust. And so that way, the total amount of those funds can be distributed. If you don't mind, Chairman, I'd move on to Bear.
Please.
Okay. An update on the Bear litigation. As we mentioned last month at General Council, the Congressional CR, which is held every year, October 1st, was pushed back until December 11th. This will be the final day that members of Congress are in attendance. They will then go home for their Christmas break, end of session break. They have put together a proposed CR for 2021, and I still wholeheartedly believe that CR is going to be pushed from December 11th into mid-January. There's no indication that Congress is making significant headway on being able to pass the appropriations in CR here in a couple of weeks. That being said, we have had a little bit of pushback from House Appropriations in terms of authorization for the Bear distribution. They're kind of playing games with us. We have reached out to Congressman Mark Mullen, and actually we had a Zoom conference with him Thursday. It's very, very promising. He intends to come up to see us in Quapaw country here in a couple of weeks at the close, or just right after December 11th. We're shooting for a date around the 15th to sit down with him in person in order for him to, he is agreed to sponsor and champion legislation for us in order to push further authorization for Bear in order for us to stay eligible for that CR and hopefully so that it can be attached onto a bill sometime in mid-January. Additionally, he's helping us push a piece of legislation that would also allow us the ability to seek a different route to fund the funds for Bear out of Department of Interior's settlement fund, which in order to accomplish that would require a presidential signature. I think in years past, it would be pretty skeptical whether or not President Trump would actually sign off on a distribution of that size. It is our belief that the new presidential administration or Biden administration would be more favorable and have at least vocalized that they are going to be much friendlier to Indian country. So this is now a much more viable option, and if not a much quicker and more efficient option. So there is some action in the tail. I think that there's some new possibilities and some potential for how we could get this money appropriated and funded. That way we can get all of the Quapaw tribal members paid quicker. So, but as of right now, And as we said last month, we are and will continue to be subject to how fast legislation, or at least how fast the U.S. legislature decides to move. So we are at the mercy of Congress at the moment. And it quite literally will take an act of Congress to get paid. So, but that is the total update on where we're at in terms of our litigation.
All right, thank you. There was another question from the chat forum. Last month, the EPA gave the state of Oklahoma authority over many tribal environmental issues. How will this affect the cleanup at Tar Creek? Are there any updates pertaining to the Superfund site? So just to provide a little background, back in 2006, I believe it was, Senator Inhofe presented a rider in the 11th hour. Actually, it's called the Midnight Rider, to a highway transportation bill that exempted all tribal nations in Oklahoma from a treatment as state status. And it's statutory language that affects the Clean Water Act, and along with tribes being able to fully assert their jurisdiction over regulating their own water standards. It also provided jurisdiction in the state of Oklahoma to assert its authority within the boundaries of the tribal jurisdictions. And so that statutory language where the state of Oklahoma can come in and assert their regulatory standards within the tribe's jurisdiction does not pertain to certain areas of land. All of Indian country, that's defined by statute in the Major Crimes Act. So 1151 A, B, and C, which is Indian reservation, dependent Indian communities, and individual allotment land. So basically all of the land that's tied up in trust is exempted from the state's assertion of the regulatory authority. And I know that's kind of a long-winded way of saying the state has maintained and asserted jurisdiction on all non-Indian land or fee land within the tribe's jurisdiction. And so because of that, the questions that we had as a business committee, that was one of the questions that was posed to us is what kind of effect does this have on the Tar Creek cleanup, and what kind of effect does this have on our own jurisdiction? And in meeting with the EPA and the regional director, and having a question and comment, in a consult forum, we, along with our own tribal environmental director, Mr. Tim Kent, our team, his staff, were all on board with the consult and engaged with EPA, and it really, the state's assertion doesn't really affect anything that we already have in place. through memorandums of agreement with the state, through all of our agreements with EPA and the Tar Creek remediation. That state jurisdiction assertion was more of a blanket assertion meant for all 39 tribes throughout Oklahoma. In terms of our own Quapaw Nation Tar Creek Superfund remediation projects, the state as well as the feds understand that we are in a unique status, a unique situation. And in our conversations with those entities and those agencies, they commend us for our work in that area. And the work that we're doing will continue full steam ahead without interruption, and there will be no impact to what it is that we're already doing. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the cleanup at Tar Creek, as well as the rest of the Superfund site. We continue to have those conversations at the state level, as well as the federal level, and all parties have agreed that Quapaw Nation is doing a phenomenal job. Our people over at QSA continue to remediate work, and it's full steam ahead without business interruption, and we're maintaining good relations with the state and the feds.
It doesn't look like there's any more questions. Is there any more questions from the floor?
I don't see any in the chat.
Yes, we've got one question.
Since we don't have Steve Ward anymore, who is our attorney or the company, law company?
It depends what matter we're needing to discuss. The question is since we're not using Steve Ward, who are we using? And I told them that, of course, matters on the subject matter. But would you like to talk about that one?
Yeah, Guy, you care to take that one and maybe share some of the cost savings that we're experiencing?
Yeah. A lot of the basic legal issues that probably could have been handled by the previous BC had they had the knowledge or experience. The chairman and myself have been able to field a lot of those. I don't know that I can provide exact numbers. If I had to guess, though, it is definitely toppling up over $100,000, if not more. We are speaking with a couple of firms in order to establish another general counsel. General legal counsel. We have a couple of firms that we really like, and we're currently negotiating rates at this moment in order to get an exact deal. Now, that being said, it would bear mentioning that now, just this would be, I guess, the 98th day in office. It's been readily apparent to us that in the past, legal issues, while they were brought to Steve Ward at Connor Winters, it was very unlikely that he would actually handle that legal issue. He did farm out a lot, if not all, of the legal work to different firms. We still have a number of those firms retained, and one of which is a firm that we're talking with, trying to entertain having them provide general counsel services to us. But it's uncertain that he was actually doing any real legal work himself. Instead, he was kind of subcontracting it out to other attorneys. He would then collect their bills or collect their work. He would have some of his associate attorneys review that work, prepare a memo. They would send it to their supervisor. They would review that memo. They would prepare their own memo. Then they would forward all those memos to Steve. He would review those. And then they would sit down and they would have a meeting to review all of the memos and the other review that the other attorneys did on work that was performed by a completely different law firm, but then would bill the tribe for all of that time at just under $500 an hour. As a good example, the Marlon Blackwell lawsuit that is taking place in Arkansas for the month of September, we received a bill from Hope Trice and Dwyer, the law firm in Arkansas that is actually performing the work. Their billable work for that month was $19,000, which, and after reviewing the bill, it was fair. Their work was then reviewed by Steve Ward and Associates. They did not perform any of the work. They just reviewed it, and their review of the work and then translating that work to the business committee, they then billed the tribe $36,000 to review $19,000 worth of work. So the cost savings have been significant. The chairman and myself do not actually need to have any litigation issues translated to us. So if you are looking, and this was just one litigation case and one event, at least with Saracen itself. There are other issues that we have at downstream within the tribal government. Every single one of them had a similar situation. Service interruption insurance claim that we have is another current lawsuit that we have with an insurance provider. Witten Burridge, a very, very good firm in Oklahoma City, is performing all of the work. Again, Steve Ward and Associates were just reviewing that work and then reporting it back to the business committee. Completely unnecessary, and it was very, very expensive. So I guess to directly answer the question, we don't have a general counsel at the moment, but likely will in the next month, but it's never going, as long as the chairman and I are here, I don't know that it's ever going to be a similar situation where we just have one attorney where all of the information flows through that attorney. It puts us in a very dangerous position. It's a very expensive arrangement. In all likelihood, we will have different attorneys, different law firms handling different legal matters for us in the future, just like Callie had mentioned earlier. Every law firm has its different expertise. There's never going to be a one size fits all solution. So it depends.
Are there any more questions from the floor? Betty?
I'm just wondering if you can give us any kind of an update on where we're at on the forensic audit. If it's still ongoing, right? Is that something you talked about here, or is where we're at?
There is no update, unless the chairman would like to, but the question was, is there an update on the forensic audit?
Yeah, so that audit should be finalized and available probably sometime next month, in the next month. The reason it's yet to be completed, from my understanding, is there was an individual who was involved with some of the reporting and some of the investigation, and they were on leave. And so that was kind of, or that was the main, if not the primary reason for the audit to continue on, because there were things in that individual's files that had yet to be investigated, and they returned from leave in the last maybe week or two. So I know that was a issue as to why the audit had yet to be completed, and now I think, but between the audit firm and the gaming commission, whatever it is that they're doing their thing, and they should be able to have a submitted, finalized report to the business committee by the next meeting. There's a question on Saracen. If there are any updates on Saracen, and if there are any plans to have a Saracen representative report at future BC meetings. And I think that is definitely something that we need to start implementing. I know previously the GM for downstream would be invited. I don't know if it was a consistent basis, but I think it was at least a quarterly report of some sort. And I think moving forward, we definitely need to have some type of representation from both of our casino operations, maybe even our Quapaw casino as well. So maybe all three casino operations, just to, further bring people into the fold and make them aware of some of the things that we're involved in, and then just basic reporting, summary reports. I think would be good. As for any updates on Saracen, I can tell you that in terms of the construction phase, we are still in conversation and in meetings to finalize the actual punch list between the architect and the contractor, approving all of those and making sure that everything from top to bottom, A to Z at the site is complete and ready to sign off on through their inspection and through their walkthrough. There's a date that's forthcoming. I think it's like the first part of December where they're actually going to conclude with that. And once that happens, we will have a audit done on the construction project, an audit done on the construction project, and we'll be submitting those documents, all of the necessary and appropriate documents to the firm, so that they can commence their audit to make sure everything was done on the up and up. Guy, do you have anything you want to add to that we could share at this time?
Just from a operational level, the property has been closed in the evenings, or I guess evening or morning, from 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. Starting December 12th or 14th. I'm fuzzy on the date exactly. They will transition into a 24/7 schedule. We did get earnings for the month of October just a couple of days ago from the state. And it was really good. I think that we were able to gross about 80% of the revenue compared to Oaklawn in Hot Springs, our nearest competitor. And many of you may even, I guess what's important to note on that is that we were able to do 80% of the revenue that our competitor was able to do. And 20 days of that month was only the annex. So there's only 300 machines that were up and running. 11 days of that was with the larger property. So it is showing a lot of promise for its earning capability. And we are looking forward to future months to see what this property will be able to do, how it'll be able to grow, and then ultimately how it'll be able to start providing funds back to the tribal nation itself in order to benefit the tribe and its operations and its tribal members.
While we're on the subject, can we do a report on downstream since you guys had the update from our new GM there?
Yeah, so we met with the new GM on Monday. He gave us a report with downstream. Tuesday. Days are all running together. We did exceptionally well in the month of October. We were considerably over what we had budgeted on revenue, so that's a good thing. He is getting adjusted. He's got a lot of really good ideas to help create more revenue and make things work a little better, smoother. We did hire a new marketing director, and that was Brandy Schaff, a tribal member. She is now our marketing director. Todd Weaver is been hired as the director of facilities, and yeah, so he's having meetings with all the staff there and stuff, trying to improve each department as we go along.
He likes to use a proactive instead of a reactive kind of approach when it comes to weekend operations. So we're really excited to have him on board. His name is Stuart Grayson, and going to be good things. I feel it on my gut. So.
Oh. We had a question back there.
I was trying to figure out what his name was.
Okay.
I know he's from the Miami tribe. I was wondering what his name was.
He was the general manager for the Miami tribe, and prior to that, he did work with the Cherokee Nation, and so he does have a good background and knowledge, and so far we're very impressed and grateful to have him. Yeah.
So, do I understand you right that Brandy Schatz is the marketing director?
Yes. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have a point that I'd like to add to that. Mr. Stuart Grayson has come to us. Previously he was working for Miami Nation, and previous to that, he was working for Cherokee Nation Entertainment, which is the gaming arm of all the Cherokee casinos. I met him several years ago. I was extremely impressed with his work ethic, I was extremely impressed by his style of management. He is a veteran. He understands the importance of the gaming operation and what the money is intended for, and that is to go back to the tribal communities, to help service our elders, to help service our youth and all of the social programs. He gets it. He understands that mission of Indian gaming. And I'm proud to say that, from my understanding, he is the first general manager at Downstream to be native, to be an Indian. And so I think it's really wonderful that we have him on board, and I continue to look for good things to come from him, and I'm excited about the direction that we're going. But I think moving forward, we may have him as well as our Saracen GM report directly to us maybe next month sometime. So we'll try to bring those two individuals, and maybe even Kenny, our GM for Quapaw Casino. However we want to do it, we can bring them into the fold and have them present what they're doing from an operational standpoint at all of our casino operations.
Who is the GM over at Saracen?
Matt.
We have put a number of individuals in place over at Saracen in the executive management capacity. We have 3 executives over at Saracen now. We have the general manager. His name is Matt Harkness. He has a very, very long gaming history all over the world, actually, from Atlantic City, Vegas, the Dakotas. He's worked in commercial and tribal gaming, even the Asian market in Saipan. He's opened 12 other casinos to date as a general manager. And so we've been very thrilled to have him on and helping us get this project opened as well. We have hired our chief financial officer at Saracen as well. His name is Jim Burns. Additionally, he also has a very long gaming history as well. Very, very, very sharp individual, and also very happy to have him on. And then we have our chief marketing officer, Carlton Saffa, who really helped kind of champion the construction project, and kind of the I guess change of the gaming industry in the state of Arkansas in general. He was a big advocate for pushing forward Amendment 100 to amend their constitution. He has been our greatest ally, politically speaking, in the state. He's created a lot of inroads for us with the community. And so we're very happy to have him over there in charge of the image for the property. And he's helping direct everything to do with the brand of the Saracen property.
Any more questions? Grace has a question. Yes.
Just a comment. Having listened to all of the reports that have been given, we've come a long way. A lot of it though has to do with the business. My concern is people. So, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
Does anybody else have any more questions for open forum?
I share that. Happy Thanksgiving to all. And like Gracie said, we do talk a lot of business during the business committee meeting, but ultimately, that it's all intended to help service our people. And I continue to put people at the forefront, and this is why we're elected. This is why we're doing what we do. And again, anything that we can do to help better that process, to help, service our people, we're always open to recommendations. We're always open to, a better way if we can provide it. So thank you. All right. Well, if there's no other business forum, I'd like to move now into closed session.
Is Chairman Byrd unmuted? Are you unmuted?
Yes, if we could go ahead and reconvene. So the business committee met in closed session with our CFO, Mr. Boone, and if we could have a update or a synopsis from our Secretary Treasurer, please.
Business committee met with the tribal CFO and discussed a transition plan for the tribal member healthcare plan, as well as an evaluation plan for employee salaries. Also discussed issues related to the tribal member utility assistance. And finally, discuss the elimination of certain erroneous or gratuitous contracts that are outstanding with our tribe.
Thank you for that summary. And I guess now we'll go ahead and close out in prayer. If you could bow your heads, please stand. Onshoen tate wakonda e jinke. Wibrate humbade. Awatonti akansa wakpani O-gah-pah nikashi. Jutse nikashi jani humbade. Gunage and tate wakonda e jinke. Awatonti akansa. Dakwali O-gah-pah. Ajinkaji. Gunage and tate O-gah-pah momshe wine. Gunage and tate wakonda e jinke. Dali humbade. Uda humbade. Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the air that we breathe. And thank you for the leadership that we have on the business committee. And thank you for guiding our decisions of today and the days to come. And I ask that you look down upon our people, our Quapaw people, and take pity upon us. We need you right now. We need you more than ever. In today's time with the virus, with the COVID virus, just all of the things that it's impacting in our tribal community, I just ask that you look down upon us and take pity upon us and help us in any way that you can, that only you know how, and provide for us. And I pray now for the people that are in mourning, that are in grief, and that you take pity upon their families and you come into their lives and you come into their hearts. And I lift them up to you in prayer, Father God, and take care of them in a good way that only you know how. And I pray for our veterans. I pray for our servicemen and women overseas that are continuing to fight for our freedom. Look down upon us and provide for our elders. Take care of them. And they're hurting right now too. They're unable to do things. They're unable to go out and go to places due to quarantine. And I ask that you look after their safety and their health and their welfare. And anybody who is sick right now, I ask that you please heal them and in a good way that only you know how, Father God. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the opportunities that each and every one of us have to help better our people and to help better our community and move our people forward in a good way, Father God. And all these things I ask in your son's name, Echo Gunagay. Amen. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
We have
Second.
a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.